Welcome back, my friends. Currently, we're on day 165 of Russia's disastrous invasion of Ukraine, and the incredible top story today is that potentially North Korea might send 100,000 of their own soldiers to Ukraine to help Russia fight their war. This was first reported on Russian state TV. This is the clip. It's about 20 seconds long. You need to watch this.
Теперь дальше по Донбассу. Вот появилась информация, что 100 тысяч северокорейских добровольцев готовы прибыть для участия в боевых действиях против...
Северокорейские добровольцы, Игорь Юрьевич, даже звучит как оксимирон.
Знаете, может быть шутка, может быть нет.
You know, maybe it's a joke, maybe not, I don't know. I'm here to reassure you in this video that this is definitely a joke and that North Korea will not be sending any of their soldiers to Ukraine. And to prove my point, it's important that you know about this incident that occurred in 2017 involving a North Korean soldier who defected to the south. His name is Oh Chung-sung. Oh is his family name. And Oh defected from North Korea on November 13th, 2017. And during his escape, he stole a car, drove directly up to the military demarcation line dividing North and South Korea, crashed the vehicle, proceeded on foot to run, and was shot 5 times by his own co-workers, his own fellow soldiers. He limped across a wall and then laid there for several hours until South Korean special forces could go and recover him. If you want to watch the entire incident, it was caught on CCTV camera of him driving the vehicle, crashing the vehicle, proceeding on foot, being shot several times, and then laying there for hours until the South Koreans could successfully rescue him. And he was taken to a hospital, and this is true. They found that he was one of the most unhealthy persons that they've ever seen. The North Korean defector had a 27-centimeter parasitic worm in his stomach. Dozens of parasites and corn kernels were found in this man who was shot and obviously lost a lot of blood. And this is what the South Korean surgeon had to say. In my over 20-year-long career as a surgeon, I have only seen something like this in a textbook. So why is this North Korean soldier so healthy? And the reason why is because North Korea doesn't have chemical fertilizer. They either can't afford it or can't secure it. So what North Korean farmers do to grow their food is they fertilize their own crops with human feces. This is how parasites and tapeworms can develop and grow in the food that you eat. So the point I'm trying to make here is that this North Korean border guard, this is one of North Korea's most elite soldiers being handpicked to represent the nation, being posted at the border where you're within running distance of, fleeing the country and getting to the South Korean side. So if this is the health and condition of a young man in his 20s, handpicked to serve at the border by the North Korean government, what is the average health condition and status of a North Korean conscript going to be being shipped to Ukraine to try and help the Russians? And the reason why this North Korean defector wanted to escape and get to the South Korean side was because of choco pies. It's the equivalent of a Hostess Ding Dong. It's a sugary snack put out by the Latte Company in South Korea. And when Latte found out about this, they gave this North Korean defector a lifetime supply of choco pies. And this is what the South Koreans do in order to get outside messages and influence into the country. They load up these plastic balloons with choco pies and then launch them over the border. These sweets are more valuable than gold in North Korea. North Koreans use them as currency. So what would happen if 100,000 North Korean men were allowed to leave their country and sent to Europe? I think within a week they would murder their Russian overseers and then defect to the West, defect to the Ukrainians or the Europeans, and all they would ask for in return would be choco pies. It sounds stupid, it sounds crazy, but that's how absurd of a country North Korea is. Let's now talk about Moscow and their military manpower crisis. That is what is leading to this report, potentially, of the North Koreans being used. And more Russian soldiers are refusing to fight in Ukraine amid collapsing morale, especially in the last month since the HIMARS missiles were starting to be used. Frontline troops are reportedly being jailed in the war zone to prevent them from resigning. So in the United States, when you sign a contract and enlist, you're pretty much going to serve those 4 or 6 years unless you have a medical reason not to do so. But apparently with the contract system in Russia, it's different, and you can leave your contract. You can get out of it at any point you want to. So now that we're several months into this war, as Russian soldiers are finally being rotated out and sent back to Russia, they're immediately resigning from the military. They do not want to be sent back to Ukraine to fight and potentially die. Russian soldiers in the country are trying to get out of their contracts, and rather than letting them go, the Russian military is just jailing them. Russia is desperate to find more bodies to fight this war. They're recruiting in Transnistria. They're force conscripting Ukrainians in the Donbas region. They're using private mercenaries like the Wagner Group, who are recruiting Russian prisoners. They've gone to Chechnya, they've gone to Syria, and now there are these insane reports that they're even asking the North Koreans for help. Here's an article from May when Vladimir Putin signed a law that allows grandfathers to fight. Putin signs a law admitting people to the army up to the age of 65. So if you're 65 years old and want to find glory in battle, now is your time to sign up for the Russian army and start your military career. Here's a video I found on Twitter of an amusement park in Sevastopol where children are being taught to drive tanks. This clip's about 30 seconds long. Let's check it out. So the obvious point of this amusement park is to get Russian children excited for war, excited for the military. And I'm pretty confident that the worker here, he's not a carny. He's a Russian soldier. He's wearing his uniform as he is supervising these children. So potentially at some point in the future, Russia's going to have the genius idea of lowering their age of joining the military. 10 and 12-year-olds will make good soldiers for the Russian military. Let's check in with the war map on deepstatemap.live. And of course, Russia has made virtually no tangible progress in the Donbas region. Remember, this dotted gray line is the official boundary of the Donbas region, Russia's stated objective. And here we are in mid-August, and they're still nowhere close to achieving this objective. Will they even come close by the end of this year? I argue they won't. And the reason why the Donbas isn't seeing as much action is because almost 2 months ago, the Ukrainians announced a counteroffensive in the Kherson region on the north bank of the Dnieper River. This is where all of the excitement and buzz is occurring, and there are reports that 25,000 Russian soldiers are now on the north bank of this river. Prior to 2 months ago, maybe it was half that number. And the Russians are posturing like they want to jut out, they want to attack out, either go for Mykolaiv, go north to Riviere, or maybe even swing around the river and try and make a push towards Zaporizhia from the west. Will any of it be successful? I argue no. But the Russians are putting themselves in a very precarious situation because they can't resupply their soldiers effectively given that the Ukrainians are successfully destroying these access points. There's the Anatovka Bridge, which has been destroyed. There's the rail bridge, which has been destroyed. There's a lesser bridge over here in Darivka that has been destroyed, which leaves the Russians' only resupply route to be this hydroelectric dam. And kudos to Dennis for pointing this out on his channel. But there is an Achilles heel of this dam that if Ukraine wanted to get bold, they could potentially strike. So when we go on Google Maps, this is the satellite image. This is the dam right here. It's very important that this is not bombed or damaged, as this would release the reservoir. But just south of the road from the dam, there's actually a second bridge. It's very narrow. The gap between is not very wide. Why is this here? What is this? And this is a canal to allow boats to get upstream. So if you're in a ship or a boat and you want to get upriver, you have to go around to this locking canal, park your boat in here, the water level will be raised, you can then get upstream. So if the Ukrainians are feeling adventurous and bold, they could use the HIMARS weapon system to target and take out this bridge, which would then prevent Russia from getting trucks and equipment across the canal. Now, this is the hydroelectric power plant right here. According to Google Maps, this is 200 feet away. So this would be threading the needle. This would be very dangerous, but potentially if Ukraine wants to completely sever and isolate all of the Russian forces and all of their equipment on the north bank of the river, it is conceivably possible. In the meantime, the United States is readying their next $1 billion weapons package for delivery to Ukraine. Last week I told you about a $550 million package that probably was half or more than half just these GMLS rockets for the HIMARS, the M270, and the Mars 2. This next aid package, which could be potentially announced this week, more than likely is going to include the 300-kilometer range missiles for the HIMARS, the M270, and the Mars 2. And once Ukraine has this, there's a plethora of military targets in Sevastopol that they can now strike. This is going to be a very bad day for the Russian Navy and the Russian Air Force, as all of these targets, once again, they can't successfully shoot down these missiles. Russia, their plan appears to be just to take all the damage and destruction of all these missiles coming from the United States. The other incredible story that broke over the weekend is this insane report out of Amnesty International blaming Ukraine for Ukrainian civilian deaths by choosing to defend their cities. This report has gotten a lot of heat and buzz because it plays into Russian propaganda and it blames the victim. This is an article in the Telegraph. Here's another one, an excerpt from the Times. And members of the public, this is what the editorial said. Members of the public who generously donate money and time to Amnesty International and the belief they are aiding victims of persecution should just stop. A once respected humanitarian campaign, Amnesty now evinces a deplorable indifference to oppression. Having shown itself soft on crime and soft on fascism, it should have the decency to depart the stage. So it's a big deal, and this report came out at the same time that one of these workers for Amnesty International went on CBS and made a completely bogus statement that only 30% of the aid being sent from Western countries is actually making it to the soldiers on the front lines. The implication being that the other 70% is being stolen or lost or misused. And there's absolutely no supports, no evidence provided to support this claim. This woman who made this claim, Dee Rova, who appeared on CBS News, she was also part of the Amnesty International report. The Amnesty International office in Kyiv wasn't even consulted or used when this report was issued by the international body. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say about all of this. This report came out the same week that Russian soldiers released a video mutilating and torturing Ukrainian prisoners of war, the same week that Russia deliberately bombed their own prisoner of war camp to kill the Azovstal defenders, and then blamed Ukraine. One of my favorite parody accounts, this is Darth Putin, this is his reaction. Ukraine endangers civilians by building cities in the path of Russia's invasion. So according to Amnesty International, the solution here is for Ukraine to either surrender or just get out of Russia's way, because Russia has proven that it has no problem destroying buildings and killing innocent civilians. Case in point, this is a huge story that isn't a crisis yet, but has the potential to be at any point. And Russia is deliberately using the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant as a military base to store ammunition and military hardware because they know the Ukrainians won't target it with HIMARS missiles. This is pretty cowardly, but it proves a point that Russia is getting desperate. If they're deliberately putting things that go boom next to nuclear reactors, this is not a good idea. This is devastation on an unprecedented scale waiting to happen, given Russia's terrible track record with safety. Even if the Ukrainians, they're not going to target this nuclear power plant, but an accident is always capable. So how is this war potentially going to end? How are they going to get all these soldiers out of this nuclear power plant? It's honestly a nightmare. Let's now pivot and talk about potentially what positive can we do for Ukraine in the YouTube community. Last week on my channel, I mentioned a teenage Canadian accordion player. He was currently at 500 subscribers, and I just wanted to help him get to 1,000 in order to help him monetize his channel. And here we are a week later, and he has over 6,000 subscribers. Absolutely incredible. But this gave me the idea of what can I do with this YouTube channel and this community to help Ukraine as far as sending positive messages and public relations. And I'm reminded of 2 months ago when Kalush Orchestra won the Eurovision contest. This was a big morale boost and public relations boost for Ukraine. So is it potential that we could use my YouTube channel to get something going in order to recreate this kind of public relations event? And currently on the TV show America's Got Talent, there are 2 Ukrainian performers. And there are different versions of this show around the world. Britain's Got Talent, Australia's Got Talent. I personally watch America's Got Talent. I think it's a lot of fun. I binge their YouTube clips to see amazing and interesting acts. And I think if we were to take this serious, we could help these 2 Ukrainian performers push their acts to the final, if not win. If enough people vote for them, they will advance to farther rounds and potentially win the entire contest. First prize is $1 million and a residency performance, I think, here in Las Vegas. Additionally, for America's Got Talent, this is one of the highest rated TV shows in the United States. 6 million people about watch it. Your YouTube clips get tens of millions of views. So these are the 2 Ukrainian performers. The first one is an aerial acrobatist named Svitlana Rohozhyna. Obviously, all this stuff is copyrighted by NBC, so I'm just going to show you a couple seconds of her introducing herself.
Where are you from? My name is Svitlana Rohozhyna. I am 26 years old. I am an aerial performer from the capital of Ukraine, Kiev.
So Svitlana lives in Las Vegas now. She's an aerial performer. This is her mother and sister. They're Ukrainian refugees who just relocated to the United States. I can't show you her performance. I'll link all these clips down below. But at the end of the video, she actually does FaceTime with her father, who is a soldier fighting on the front lines in Ukraine. The other Ukrainian act is a contortionist. It's a husband and wife duo. And I'll once again show you them introducing themselves.
My name is Oleksandr Yenivatov.
And who is that?
My name is Aurélie Brua.
Are
my,
you
my beautiful wife?
And where are you guys from?
I'm Ukrainian.
Oh.
So it's pretty heartwarming, pretty inspiring. The show is pretty competitive, and usually a comedian or a magician always wins, but these two Ukrainian acts made it through the auditions, and starting this week, we're getting to the live shows with the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the finale. And anybody who wants to can download the America's Got Talent app and then vote for these Ukrainian performers on their phone. So I don't know if either one of them is going to be performing live this Tuesday, but this Tuesday I'll make a video if they do, and potentially we can get them some more votes. It'd be great if we could see them advance to the semifinals or potentially the finale, if not win. So what can you do in the meantime to set this up? I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Once again, download the AGT app on your phone to be prepared to vote. I'll make a video explaining how to vote on the app. Unfortunately, you do have to give NBC your email address, but they've never emailed me. Don't worry about it. You can also go to these two clips on the America's Got Talent YouTube channel, give it a positive comment, watch the clip, give it a thumbs up, just show engagement so that the videos get promoted more in the algorithm. I'll make an update video Tuesday if one of these two Ukrainian performers are participating. You have 24 hours on the app to vote. Then on Wednesday, they do another broadcast to show the results of who is going to advance to the next round. Once again, it's just about sending positive vibes, positive love to these Ukrainian performers. In addition, first place is a $1 million prize, which is pretty incredible. That's all for this update video. If you found it informative or interesting, give me a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any comments or questions about what we're trying to do, let me know down below. I'll try to help you if I can. Till the next video, take care, be safe.